everybody. Today, we're going to be focusing on animation. Animation comes in three major parts in Scratch. The first major part is picture animation, where we have our sprite and it's quickly switching through the costume so fast that it actually looks like it's moving. The second type of animations that we have are size animations, where it's an animation based on the size being changed. The last type of animation in Scratch is basically the same thing as the first type, where it's switching through the costumes, but instead it has to have some sort of condition to it. Like if we're moving around the screen, but our character has a certain animation bit when it's moving around. That's what it'd be like. Okay, let's get started. The first part of animation we're going to go over is picture animation, where you have a sprite and it cycles through each of the different costumes repetitively fast so that it gives the illusion of motion. So let's give you guys a quick example of this. This one over here is a perfect example. Here we see this animation happening. Pretty cool, right? Now let's see inside. And we see it's simply just switching the costume repetitively fast. If you go to costumes, from here we see the different ones and see how it individually changes each time. So then when it cycles through these super duper fast, it gives that illusion of motion. And that's what makes it so unique. Now the second type of animations on Scratch are user controlled animations. So for example, this one. The animation happens when you're touching it. And this one. And this one. These types of animations are based off the size. Over here, what we're doing is that we're not making an animation where it's cycling through the different sprite costumes. It's not doing that. What it's doing here is that it's using a variable to help change the costume size. Same with this and this. If you go inside and we look at these individual sprites, we see that if it's touching the mouse pointer, we're changing the size by our target size minus its current size divided by our increment. Same thing over here, and the same as this. The title one uses a variable called t, and then we use the cosine of it, and then we change it by t. We change t by 6 each time, giving it that in-out effect. That's what makes these two different kinds of animations different. The last type of animation we have are character animations, where when you're doing a certain sequence, you have something cool. This project over here is a completely perfect example on how it works. So right now we have the first guy, player one. He's the skeleton dude. While moving around, you see that he has this animation of him actually looking like he's moving around, like that. In addition to that, we also have a punch animation, a super speed animation, and then a fireball animation. If you look closely, you can see that the black hole actually moves around. We can even show this with the other character's fireball. Clearly, you can see the motion and animation in it. These types of animations are animations in where we're doing something in which when something is happening, in this case the left arrow or right arrow being pressed, what's happening is that it's changing its costume into the next one. Instead of it cycling throughout it repetitively fast like we showed previously, what's going on now is that it needs something to happen first before it can do that animation. And that's what makes this really unique. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how you can do this yourself. First, we want to go back to Scratch and create a new project. Now, a really easy way to get all these sprite costumes really quickly is by getting uh, you want to get a pixel sheet like this. So I simply searched up Hell Monster Sprite, and they have a variety of interesting monsters that you can use in the game. So for this instance, I chose this one. But of course, we can also pick other ones. So for this one, let's go ahead and let's pick our skeleton. Now what we want to do is that we want to right click and click Save Image As. By doing this, we now have this. Oh, hold up, cancel. Okay, things. Actually cancel. We want to go and get snipping tool. Now, I know some of you guys may not be doing this on a Windows computer. It's completely fine. We just have to get the picture. So we want to take new and we want to line it up here so that we can just take all that. Now here we want to click save and let's go to save it in our pictures. And we're going to name this skeleton sprite. Okay, now if we look carefully again, we can see that there's a blue background. Now, when we're putting that in here, we do not want a blue background on our sprite, right? So we can quickly go to any photo editor you may have. You can just have one that you already have, like Photoshop, or you can just go here. This is a completely free one on the internet. It's called pixelart.com. Just click open image. You go to where you kept your thing. So this one over here. Now we quickly go over to this side and click cutout, magic cutout. Just tap on the blue background. Then let's tap in the inside of this. Get rid of that. And then zoom in a bit. Just a little bit of cleanup on that area. And then you can see that it comes out pretty nicely. There. Now we're just going to go ahead and click save. And we're going to take a PNG. And let's quickly name this character 1 Skelly. Perfect. Now it's here. Now we're going to go back over here and we're going to click our different options on choose a sprite. We have choose a sprite from their library, paint one, surprise, or even upload. Then we go click upload and go to our downloads. There it is. Here it is. Now we're going to go to costumes and we see you have all of these different options. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start making and painting our new ones. So we're going to call this idle. When you're not doing anything, you're idle, right? So let's go ahead and switch this to bitmap. It's already bitmap. So let's go ahead and take this, Control C or Control X, Control V, tap out, and drag into the center. By putting it in the center, we're always making sure that that's where it's going to be. So it's always important to make sure that we have it there. Then we'll just delete these extras over here. Now the next part is walk. So let's go ahead and create a walk. Okay, now if you look over here, we have 6 of them. So let's duplicate, 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 and duplicate. Now you have 6 of them. So let's go over here, take the same exact tool, select them, Control X, Control V, here. Now let's take this guy. Oh, we have to change it to bitmap first. Now let's take this guy, move him into the center. Now here's number 2. Control X, Control V. Tap out, drag him into the center. Number 3. Control X, Control V. Tap out, drag to the center. Number 4. Control C, Control X, Control V. There. And then you take this one, Control X, Control V, drag to the center. Control X, Control V, drag to the center. Okay, now that's just walk, and this is a pretty good starting place to be at. Okay, so now that we're in here, we're gonna go over to our code. Now, once we're in our code, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna have to make sure that we're changing it at the correct time, right? Because we don't want our timings to be all botched up. So to do this, we're gonna have to make sure that we're correctly making sure that when we're doing something and when we're not doing something. Now, it may seem a bit confusing, but it's completely fine. So now we're going to go ahead and start off. We're always going to start off when the flag is clicked. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick forever because we always want to keep on moving. And we're going to want to take now a if statement because we're saying if the left arrow key or the right arrow key has done something, then we're going to do the movement, right? We want to make sure we're doing our movement. Oh, we also have to make sure that we quickly flip horizontal. It just makes everything easier with direction because we always want to be facing in a 90-degree angle direction. Always make sure to do that. Like your character is always facing in that direction. There. We also want to make sure, oh, let's change our costume quickly. We also want to make sure that our direction style is changed to flip as well. So, if key left arrow or right arrow is pressed, then what do we want to do? Well, if the left arrow is pressed, then we want to point it in the direction of 90, right? So go here, if and else. So if left arrow pressed, meaning that we're facing in this direction, we would want it to point in a negative 90 direction, like that, right? So let's say motion, point in direction. Oh, whoops, negative 90. And if it's pointing, that means if the left arrow, so this condition instead of this one. So left arrow and right arrow. So if the left arrow is not pressed, what's the other one that it could possibly be? The right arrow. So else, if the right arrow is pressed, then go to position 90. So left arrow, right arrow, left arrow, right arrow, left arrow, right arrow. That's good for now. Now, the next part is to switch its costume into walking because this is just idle. So let's switch its costume to walk. Switch costume to walk. Then we want to switch its X to move minus 10 steps. Now what this does is that it just makes sure that we're doing the first part of the walk because when we move 10 steps, we're moving in that direction. So move 10 steps. So play. As you can see, we're moving around. Okay, now this part of the code is going to become very repetitive, but ultimately it makes sure that it's much easier and smoother to move around. Okay, so we're gonna have to go ahead and actually quickly copy this part out, duplicate. This helps that we can change direction in the middle of the sequence because our sequence here is walk 1, walk 2, walk 3, walk 4, walk 5, walk 6. So we have to make sure that we're able to change our direction, and by putting these in the middle of our code just completely helps us with it. So now that we have done that first movement, we want to wait until it goes back into it again, right? We want to wait until it hits it, like a left arrow or right arrow. So we're going to go into control and we're going to go ahead and take wait until. Now, this is going to be the first part in what we're repeating. So now, want to wait until left arrow is right arrow. So like that. Okay? Now, once that is pressed, we want to do our directional checking again. We want to make sure what's the right direction we're moving in. Then we want to switch its direction. So we want to switch the costume and make it move 10 steps. So we want to make it go to the next one. Switch costume to costume 2. And then we don't want it to go super fast, so we're just going to put a quick wait button of 0.1 seconds. This just helps it keep in time. Now, this is going to be the second one. We have to repeat this a total of 6 times. So 1, 2, now there's 3, and now there's 5. Let's quickly put this here. So walk 1, walk 2, walk 3, walk 4, walk 5, and then duplicate this, put this here, and change this into walk 6. Okay? And then we're just going to put a simple wait until the left arrow key is pressed again so that it can recycle to the top. This is a very complicated set. It doesn't look, it's actually not that complicated. It's just that it's just repeating over and over again. So now if we move around, we can see the animation in play. Huh, that's weird. Let's change the size to 140 so we can see it better. Or maybe 200. There you go. Now we move around, we can see the animation working perfectly. Okay. Now, that is how we can do a very simple animation with the movement. Now we're going to get on to attacks. Attack is going to be, again, very similar to what we did here. We're going to paint a new one and we're going to call them attack. Now, if we go back to our attack sequence, we can see that we have 4 very distinguishable parts of the attack. So we're going to need 4 of them. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we go back here. Let's delete this. Let's take this. Oh, wait, Control Z. We don't want to delete it. We want to, hold up. There, Control X. Go down, here, attack. Paste it here. Control the bitmap. Bring this here. X, V, X, V, X, V. There we go. Now the coding for this is going to be very, very easy. It's not going to be as complicated as this. Not one bit. So what we're going to do here is this. We're just going to say that we need an attack button, right? So in this case, let's make it the spacebar. So let's get a forever block. Let's get a green flag. And we're going to say if the key button space is pressed, then switch your costume to attack. Now we're going to keep this here because it's going to take a lot of repeating. So switch costume to attack and then wait because you want to wait a bit. So wait 0.1 seconds for the costume switch. And we're just going to have to do this multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Then we'll bring this over here. Play. Okay. Hold up. Hmm. Okay, let's quickly stop this. Okay, let's change this quickly to A. Oh, simply because it's always an attack. Okay, we had to change this to costume 3 and then 4A. There you go. Okay, I was wondering what was the problem. So, huh? Oh, yeah, I have to change this to costume one back again. So, attack one. Hmm. Oh, let's make this 0.5. That'll make it last longer. Hmm. Oh, we need the attack 4. Hold up. Okay, I realized our mistake. And then after this, and then attack. So, this, and let's switch this to 0.5. There we go. So now we can see how we move around freely. Then we can just go punch. Maka punch. There you go. This is just a very basic way to do this. Now, of course, you can make other characters, you can add even more weapons like the fireball or the black hole that I showed you. Truly, the imagination is the limit. So, remember, Scratch is not something you can pick up overnight. It takes practice and learning and the understanding of the different parts of Scratch and how you can use them to integrate it with your code, like this. You see, like, how we are able to use this set of code to make this, but truly, we're only using variables, operators, sensing, control, events, motion, and looks. And if you look back at what we did before, we have done a lot of this stuff. We have done many things with this stuff before. It's just that we're just bringing it to a whole other level. And that's the biggest part of Scratch. Thank you.